Hello there, my name's Tim Walter. I'm an alternative life coach, a geomancer and a dowser. Basically, I help people to wellness through intentional living. And today, in this video, what we're going to look at is how our brainwave patterns actually change when we go into different mindsets. So when we're healing, meditating, dowsing, all of this can be measured with an instrument called a mind mirror. In 2015, I used to run a dowsing group that met each month. We used to have visiting experts come in and give us talks. And in April of that year, we were visited by Paul Gerry, a clinical neuro-physiologist at the Royal Devon and Exeter Hospital. For over 30 years, he has used professional brain monitoring equipment to measure brainwave patterns to help diagnose issues for patients. On this evening, Paul joined us to talk about how brainwave patterns seem to change when people go into meditation, dowsing or healing. He looks at life very much from a scientific perspective and actually was a dowsing cynic some years ago. So here he is then in a short extract from the talk that he did that evening, and also some footage of the tests that we did the following day.
I do get very committed dowsers that will say to me, that's science, as if it's not involved, but of course we work by science and therefore dowsing is a science. So what I've done is to pull together some of the interests that I've had of looking at dowsing and the physiology of how the body works when we're dowsing, and some of the kind of journey that I've taken from having heard what dowsing is to finding out that it works, and then the big question, why? And they found out that there was a lot of research done before, but by people who are not qualified to look at brain activity, just people who've had the money to buy a machine. So dowsing and beyond the awakened mind. The awakened mind is a state beyond meditation. It's a state where we're aware of ourselves and also everything that's going on outside. Most people have heard about brain waves and perhaps alpha waves or things like that. They're not actually waves. What is happening is that the surface of the brain is getting signals coming up from deep down in the brain, hitting the surface a number of times a second. And therefore, by having electrodes on the head, you can pick up the number of times that the signal is travelling up the nerve to the brain. Very simply, there's 4 different brain waves which we're interested in when we're dowsing or meditating or living. And the easy way to remember is going from the bottom upwards, it's D-tab. Delta is the slowest, that's deep sleep. Theta, light sleep. Alpha waves, awake, but eyes closed and relaxed. And beta, when you're thinking hard and inquisitive, pulling in the outside world to see what you think of it. And this box was invented by a man, very much scientist and a Zen Buddhist, who was educated in India, came over to England, started doing a medical degree, and they get more interested in the non-medical side, and with a electronic engineer called Jeff Blundell, produced this box. And he came up with this idea that you could look at different states, not of brain, but the mind, using this mind mirror. And there's the mind mirror in action. High frequencies at the top, low frequency at the bottom. And he came up with different types of brain activity. So what he says, and I quote him, he was saying that if you start at the high frequency, at the very top, gamma waves, if you only had gamma waves, then you end up with the shape, it looked more like a wine glass with just the high frequency. And that's our normal waking consciousness. Logical thinking and analytical thinking. And it's seen in restlessness, stress, anxiety, panic. All right, if we take that a little bit further, a meditative pattern gives you the alpha, theta, and a little bit of delta. So it gives you that balance between the 3 different waveforms. And with Max Cade, he recorded thousands of people from all over the world. His name really spread, and he had clinics running in London where he would have people in, and he would wire up a whole group of people to his machines. And he had a whole set of instructions of being able to bring them all into this meditative state. He recorded healers as well, and you found that the healer had the same brainwave patterns as the person they were healing. So there was this link between them as well. And then if you could get beyond a meditative state to the awakened mind, and this is what you found in people who are like the directors of firms or film stars or pop stars, people that are really at the pinnacle of their own career. You found that they could go into this pattern because they were in a relaxed state and yet they were aware of the surroundings and comfortable with it. So creativity, high performance. The idea is that whether you could get someone to get into that state and keep it there. So the different states we've got using the mind mirror, and when you're awake you've got the high beta activity, and then going into the meditative states we're starting to develop the alpha and the theta together. Edith Jerker claimed that in dowsing we have equal amounts of all 4 different brainwaves, which are very different from any other state of mind. So what we like to look at is what brainwaves look like when people are dowsing but also meditating. I'm sure when you're dowsing, after a while you just feel completely drained, as if you're just exhausted. Is that because we're going into that state of mind where we're producing different brain patterns than we usually do, and it's just using up all our energies? So research, why hasn't anyone moved forward and used it since the 80s?
The following day, Paul conducted some tests on myself and my colleague Adrian Ingledon-Webber when meditating and remote dowsing and healing.
So the screen we've got on the left shows him in his meditative state, showing the higher frequency dominance coming down through the alpha, theta and into the delta states, whereas here on the right side we have the healing state, which is showing more of the awakened pattern, showing the high frequency coming down through the beta and then a dominant alpha showing up. Definitely starting to look like Max Cade's awakened state, showing you the grouping out of the different frequencies with the dominant alpha showing through, but also with theta and beta activity coming through as well.
What we learned from this research is that the brain waves go into a different pattern, a different mindset when dowsing and distant healing. While this is not conclusive, and more research definitely needs to be done, the use of this mind mirror by a clinically qualified practitioner with over 30 years experience with professional EEG systems does provide us with some very interesting and positive results. And clearly it shows the importance of the different mindsets. This is really exciting, and as more research is done into quantum biology and the processes within the human physiology that can indeed pick up on what these influences are when our mindset changes, then the more significant it is going to be for all of us to really pay attention to the way that we think. The mindset of the human brain has a significant but subtle effect on all its surroundings.